Hi everybody, welcome back. I just wanted to do a video here on my experience vacationing in Boston recently, a couple weeks ago for a week. And I did go there once and I was going to do a review on it, but New York the last time I went there was October 2021. And even though in Arizona things are pretty much clear, it was towards the end of the pandemic. I think being close to New York, because I knew New York was a hot spot, and they were still under strict precautions. Boston is only like 3 or 4 hours away, so they were still under strict precautions. I know we had to wear masks everywhere, even in the Uber drivers' cars and restaurant, the hotel. They said not to take your mask off till you get into your hotel room. So I was going to do a review on Boston back then, but with COVID still going on, the pandemic still going on, I felt it wouldn't be totally accurate. So that's over now. Pandemic's over. So the last time we went there, it didn't really make sense. We didn't really realize we got a rental car, my wife and and we didn't realize that the parking really, the traffic, it was terrible driving there. I definitely recommend going there, but not driving because there is I recommend either walking or Ubering or taking public transportation, anything like that. I don't recommend getting a rental car because there is hardly any, well, the driving is pretty bad there, pretty rough, especially during rush hour, but there is like hardly any parking garages, there is street parking, but good luck if you can find that. So last time my wife and I went there, yeah, we did get a rental car, but we hardly ever used it because we were Ubering a lot because there was just like no parking anywhere. Like we went to the TD Garden, Ubered there. I think we Ubered to Fenway Park because there was like no parking around there. There is a parking garage that I did see. I guess it's where a lot of people do park when they go to see the Boston Bruins or the Celtics or a concert, whatever, at the TD Garden. But it's like a mile away. So yeah, you've got like a mile walk. That's quite a distance, especially for somebody maybe doesn't get around too well. But yeah, the weather was great. I know last time it was so cold and it rained the whole time. It rained the first couple days we were there and it was cold, but then it got warmer. It was in the high. We were there May 22nd to the 29th for about a week. It did get into high 70s, low 80s. It was perfect weather and kind of cloudy and sunny on and off. It depended on the day. It kind of came and went, but temperature-wise, it was nice. We stayed at we Ubered a little bit. We didn't get a rental car. We Ubered, and we were able to walk quite a few places. We were on the north end. We stayed at the Marriott Waterline, and it was great, a great hotel. And got like $30 a day we could use for free. It was for either room service, the bar, or the restaurant. So it felt kind of weird dining by myself, but my wife was like, yeah, honey, if you want to go to the restaurant, and I went over a little bit. It was pretty hard to stay under $30, but I tried not to go too crazy. But she's like, yeah, if you want to go to the restaurant, hon, get yourself some clam chowder, get a steak, and use up that. Don't want to let that $30 go to waste. So had a lot of good food. It was kind of rough eating out. I spent a lot of time in that toilet, I will admit. I ate way too much. And I stayed in the north end. There's a lot of great Italian, a big Italian population there, a lot of Italian restaurants. And we ate out like 3 times a day, every day. So it was pretty rough in that respect. But yeah, experiencing great, especially Italian food. And everywhere you go, they have New England clam chowder. It's just excellent. And I don't like Manhattan clam. I don't even want to know what they call it, chowder, because it's more like a brothy soup. It's like a consistency of vegetable soup. It's not chowder at all, but yeah, I don't really, it's like tomato based. I don't care for Manhattan clam chowder. I love New England clam chowder, and it's just as good as mine homemade. Um, yeah, we went on a walk. We saw Paul Revere House. Saw that, went on a walking tour, history tour, did the duck tour, and this hop on, hop off tour where it took us to the USS Constitution, that museum over there. Got to go on the ship, and that was pretty good. Didn't go, it was like 2 miles away from me. I was thinking about possibly going. It's just a bar, and it's not like hard to get. I guess I'm on the weekends. I'm not sure how big. It looks pretty small. I've seen pictures of it, and I wasn't really a fan of the show. Of course, that show was on when I was a kid. Never really found it that funny. It was on from like 82 to 93. The show Cheers. It always seemed kind of boring to me. I never got into it. I was thinking about going there, having a couple beers. I'm not very much of a drinker anymore, but it's, I guess, besides the weekends, it's pretty easy to get into. I was wondering, I guess, if we had to make a reservation or anything like that. I said, oh, you could just walk in. They said, although it may get kind of crowded on the weekends, it looks pretty small from what I've seen some pictures and seen on the show. But I didn't end up going there. You know, it's just a bar, and to go there just to say I went there, had a beer, big deal. So I did ride by there on one of the trolley tours. I did see the sign from the front. So, in Fenway Park, we were thinking about going. I think the day we were going to go to see a Red Sox game just to experience it. We decided not to do that because the prices are kind of. I'm not really a baseball fan. Tickets are pretty expensive, and that's like the oldest ballpark in the major leagues baseball. It was built so long ago, so the seats they're not really built for people like me. I'm 6'5", pretty big guy, got wide shoulders and long legs. I did go there for a tour back in 2021. That was interesting, but the seats are really, really like super small. And they do have a standing area, but I didn't feel like standing for 3 or 4 hours. And then they do have, behind the Green Monster in the left field, they do have seats up there that are a little bigger, but those are a lot more expensive. Depending on who they're playing too, the better the team is they play, the more expensive the tickets are. So we ended up not doing that. I think the day we were debating on going to a Red Sox game, but we said with the weather, I think the day we were going to go, we would have gotten rained on, because we said the weather, in the Midwest and also the East Coast, especially in the springtime, early summer, can be kind of testy. It could be cold, it could be rainy, and so we ended up not doing that. But I definitely recommend going to Fenway Park if you're a baseball fan. I think it's a must. There is a lot of, I'm not very much a baseball fan. I was when I was a kid. I'm more into basketball and football, but they did have a lot of history about the Red Sox, about the history of the ballpark, the fans, the players, and certain, the World Series championships they won, crucial moments. Like they still had for those who are familiar with Carlton Fisk hitting that home run against the Cincinnati Reds in the World Series back in like '75. They don't have the same foul pole up, but they had the foul pole because his home run, it hit the foul pole. It was considered a fair ball home run, and they still have that. They had a part of, I guess, like the top of that foul pole in the area where they have like the history in Fenway Park. You can see it going on the tour. So yeah, I definitely recommend going there. I felt people were pretty kind. I felt safe there. I didn't feel safe. It was a while ago. I don't think I want to go back to New York again. Boston isn't that crowded. New York is, especially when we stayed in Times Square, it is super crowded. And on every street, I felt like I was harassed. I'm 6'5". I guess I stand out. My wife said that she never saw harassment like that before, because she'd been there many times. And she's like, yeah, I've never seen people beg, and they weren't like peaceful. Boston, there were people asking for money, but they just had signs. They weren't even talking, and I'm cool with that. But in New York, they were just not peaceful. Of course, it was 10 years ago I was there, but they were begging for money and not in a peaceful. They were harassing me, being very unkind, rude to me, making rude remarks about the way I looked, and I definitely decided they were just really aggressive, not peaceful at all. So I had to tell my wife, like, I don't ever want to go back to New York again if that's what it's always like. She said she never saw it like that before. But yeah, in Boston, there was a little bit of a homeless population, but I mean, like I said, there were people down the road, but they weren't even talking. They were just sitting on the veterans. They were just sitting on the side of the street with signs and not talking at all, not being aggressive or harassing to people. So yeah, New York, I definitely got a different vibe going there. I felt like they were pretty rude there for the most part. I heard that that's how they can kind of be. They just kind of the local, how should I say it? People like New York native. Yeah, so the word I was looking for. New York natives. They just kind of say. I heard a lot of foul language there. There was a guy that was I don't know. This guy had a food truck. He was having a disagreement with a customer, and he used some language I don't care to repeat on here. I was really shocked at the way that this customer was treating this food truck worker, but I guess supposedly from what I heard, that's like how a lot of them are. They just say whatever they think, whatever comes to mind. They have like no filter. So, but yeah, I definitely recommend going to Boston. Everybody was pretty nice there. Didn't experience any problems at all. I know my brother, when he went there to visit, because he lives in New York, and he came on the train to see us back in 2021, and he experienced some rudeness in Boston. And also my wife's friend from Texas came up to see us, and she was a little on the heavier side, and I guess some guy told her she was fat, but yeah, she kind of blew him off. She said, "Oh yeah, tell me something I don't know." So, but I never, my wife and I, we experienced nothing but niceness there. We didn't have any problems at all. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about Boston. I definitely recommend it. Definitely recommend going there and seeing. There's a lot of history there, and going and seeing ball games. Definitely don't recommend getting a rental car, though. I would not get a rental car because, like I said, that's just a big number one advice I could give to you, because driving is shit. Even though it's not as crowded as New York, driving is still shit. And like New York, there's hardly any parking, whether it be street parking or parking garages. Chicago is pretty crowded, but it's pretty easy to find parking in Chicago. I grew up there for 38 years, and yeah, there's tons of, they planned ahead there. There's tons of parking garages and tons of street parking lots. So that's all I got to say on the public transportation. So yeah, that's all I got to say about Boston. So comment, like, share, subscribe, and we'll talk to you all real soon in another great video. Have a great rest of your Father's Day weekend, everybody. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.